The Last Witness. The sun was setting behind the glass towers of New York City as Detective Maria Diaz stepped into the dimly lit office of her partner, Jake Miller. Her mind was racing with the events of the past few days, but one question kept gnawing at her. What if the truth was more than they could handle? The case they were working on had begun like any other, a string of brutal murders in the city's underworld. Gang members were being executed in a pattern that made no sense, until one survivor, a young woman named Emily Carson, had been found alive at the scene of the most recent killing. Emily was the last living witness to a massacre, and she was terrified. Maria sat across from Jake, who was buried in case files. His tired eyes met hers, his face lined with years of working this gritty city. "You're thinking about Emily again, aren't you?" Maria nodded. "She's the key to this whole thing. But she's scared out of her mind, Jake. What if we're too late? What if they come for her before she can testify?" Jake leaned back in his chair, folding his arms. "You know as well as I do this isn't just about the murders anymore. Someone's orchestrating this from the shadows. We need her to break the silence." Maria's gaze drifted to the window, watching the city pulse below. The city never sleeps. Neither will the killer. The day Emily Carson had become the last witness was one she'd never forget. She had been in the wrong place at the wrong time, a night out with her friends at a bar that unknowingly sat atop a gang's drug den. When the shooting began, chaos ensued. People screamed, ducked under tables, and ran for the exit. But Emily froze. She saw it all. The masked man. The calm, methodical way he killed everyone in his path. He didn't seem human. And the look in his eyes, the cold, empty stare, it haunted her every moment since. After the massacre, she was found unconscious among the dead. The paramedics thought she was just another victim. But Emily wasn't dead. She was alive, terrified, bruised, and broken. Now the truth was slipping through her fingers like sand. Maria and Jake arrived at Emily's apartment just after sunset, the streetlights casting long shadows across the cracked pavement. As they entered, Emily's eyes darted around the room. The curtains were drawn, and a thin layer of dust had gathered over the furniture. It felt like a place suspended in time, where fear had overrun every corner. "Miss Carson," Maria called softly, trying not to startle her. Emily turned, her eyes wide with panic. She had the look of someone who hadn't slept in days, her face pale, her hands shaking. "I can't do this anymore. You don't understand. They're going to kill me." Maria and Jake exchanged a glance. They knew the stakes, but hearing it from Emily made the reality all the more brutal. "Emily, we're here to protect you," Maria said, her voice calm yet urgent. "We need you to tell us everything you saw." Emily shook her head violently. "I didn't see anything. I didn't see anyone. I don't know who did this." Her words were rushed, her voice trembling. Jake stepped forward. "But you are the only one who knows, Emily. We need you to speak. You're the last witness." Her eyes flickered with confusion, and for a moment there was silence in the room, thick with tension. Then Emily's lips trembled as she whispered, "You don't get it. I wasn't supposed to survive." Maria's pulse quickened. The words hit her like a slap. "What do you mean? Who wasn't supposed to let you live?" Maria asked, leaning in closer. Emily swallowed hard. "The man who did it. He said something before he left. He said, 'You're the last witness, and you won't be alive for long.'" A cold shiver ran down Maria's spine. The chilling reality set in. Emily had become a target. Later that night, as the city hummed outside, Maria sat in her car, running through the case details again. It didn't add up. How had the killer known Emily would survive? Why hadn't he finished her off? And who was he really working for? Jake had gone to speak with their informants in the underworld, trying to get a lead. Maria had one more person to visit, someone who might hold the missing piece of the puzzle. She knocked on the door of an old building in Brooklyn, where an informant named Tony the Rat lived. He was a snitch, someone who had seen it all and talked to anyone, the kind of person who would sell his own mother for the right price. "Diaz, right?" Tony greeted her, his voice rough from years of smoking. He let her in, eyeing her warily. "What do you want?" Maria didn't waste time. "Tell me about the man who's been killing the gang members. Who is he?" Tony laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You're asking the wrong question. You should be asking why he's doing it." "Why?" Tony's eyes darted around, then he leaned in. "This is bigger than you think. It's not just about gang wars. It's about control. That man, he's not just some hired gun. He's been working for someone higher up, the kind of people who don't leave loose ends. And if Emily Carson is the last witness, she's the key to all of it." Maria's stomach churned. She knew Tony wasn't lying. The truth was worse than she'd feared. Maria and Jake arrived at Emily's apartment, only to find the door ajar. Inside, they discovered a scene that froze them in place. Emily was gone, and there, written on the wall in what appeared to be blood, were the words, "The last witness is dead." But then, something unexpected happened. As Maria and Jake stood in disbelief, a shadow moved in the corner. Emily stepped out from behind the door, her eyes wide but not with fear, with purpose. "I knew you wouldn't believe me," Emily whispered, her voice cold. "But it's too late. They're always watching." Maria was speechless as Emily revealed the truth. She wasn't just a witness. She was a part of the conspiracy all along. The real killer had been manipulating the situation, using her as a pawn to take down the city's power players, one by one. In the end, Emily wasn't just the last witness. She was the one pulling the strings from behind the scenes. As the story unfolded, Maria realized too late that Emily had been playing them all along, and in her final act, the last witness had ensured that the only truth left was the one that no one saw coming. Sometimes the truth is buried so deep that only the last person you trust can uncover it. And in the end, it might be the last person you suspect who holds the power to reveal the darkest secrets. Don't forget to subscribe Storytime with Harry for more interesting stories. Thank you for watching.